is okay today. We're going to do it a bit early. Yep. Actually, by the way, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Noreen, Izza binti Arshad. I'm from the Computer and Information Science Department. I'm a lecturer, just like everyone. Um, I'm also part of the SOTL team where I'm being seconded. Partly, I would say I'm working with Cik Reza, Irwan here. We have Irwan here, Cik Reza here. I'm also working under Dr. Subarna besides being a lecturer in CIS. So if you ask me, I'm also doing teaching and lecturing at the same time. Um, a little bit about what we're going to do today. As everyone knows that this is actually compulsory for the new lecturers, I think, which is called the EED Part 1. Before we start, I would like to make an announcement. I hope that everyone will not click the recording button. This is going to be recorded by Irwan here, and Irwan is going to share the recording tape with everyone in UTP. So yeah, so please do not do that. And I hope that everyone can see my presentation. Yeah. So Dr. Husnain, Dr. Ihtisam, Prof. Iswaran, can you see my slides, which is intro to SOTL? Prof. Iswaran, can you see? Yep. All right. Great. Thank you for the feedback, Prof. Okay. Today, before that, I would like to just know everyone, if possible. I would like to know your name. Okay. Maybe where do you graduated your PhD from? How long have you been in UTP? And for the new lecturers, where were you before this? Maybe in industry, or maybe in another university. So I hope that you can share with me. Can you go to menti.com, www.menti.com? You can type this on your PC, you can type this on your phone, and you use the code 667530. And can you try to type? Can you tell me your name? Where do you graduated from? How long have you been in UTP and your previous university organization? I hope Cik Reza, Irwan can also do this so that, yeah, so that, okay. Uh, you just go to menti.com. The code is 667530. And then you type your
It is menti.com.
menti.com, www.
MENTEE.
Here you can see on top ni Dr. Hasbullah ke?
Yeah.
www kat atas slide saya ni ada go to www.menti.com and use the code 66.
MENTI. All
Yeah,
right.
on top of my slides you can see
Yep.
www.menti.com and use
Okay.
the code 667530.
Right.
Thank you, Prof. Iswaran. So yeah, that's nice. Yeah, it's good to have a brief answer. So at least, Prof, you can do this with your students that if let's say we're gonna do, as everyone knows, most probably we're gonna go online in May semester. So this is how you can actually have some answer from from your students. Yeah. Hi, Cik Reza. Oh, I just got to know that Cik Reza is from Sunway College previously, although I've been working with Cik Reza for so long. Hi, Dr. Hasbullah. Oh, Dr. Hasbullah, you are from UTMM Melaka.
No. I graduated my PhD from UTM, Malacca.
Okay, all right,
But
UTM.
I was with UUM before.
All right. From which department, Dr. Hasbullah, in
In,
UUM?
with School of Technology Management and Logistics.
Okay, okay. I work closely with Prof. Huda last time. Yeah,
That is
and
in computer science.
that's right, that's right.
Yeah,
Sorry, Dr.
in
Hasbullah, I think you are Prof. Hasbullah.
associate professor.
Okay, all right. Logistic, okay. So, yeah. Okay, thank you everyone for the answers that given here. So, okay, I continue. So if let's say you have, if there is any others, do we have any other people, Cik Reza, inside the here besides here? We have. Do we have
Uh,
the
there's an
other?
increase,
Mm-hmm.
okay, because if you look at the attendee there, you can see
Mm-hmm.
that
We
Dr.
have
Anna has just
Anna.
joined, and
We
then
have Huda.
mhm,
Yeah.
and
We have
also Dr. So.
So, yeah. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Hi, Dr. Anna. Okay, I'll continue with a little bit of what we're going to do today within this more or less about 40 minutes, I would say. Um, we will see a quick glance of UTP and CETAL in a very brief presentation. We'll see the philosophy of SOTL. What is it? If you don't know, I believe that most of you are very familiar with it, especially Dr. Anna. I think that you are very familiar with SOTL, and we will have a little bit of fundamental knowledge on what is SOTL actually, if you have never encountered SOTL grant, and the need to carry out SOTL. SOTL is called the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning, where in UTP we give a grant for doing research in this area, which is on the area of Scholarship of Teaching and Learning. I know that you are very, very familiar. I know that all of you are a good researcher in your own area. Some of you are doing research in mechanical, analytics, oil and gas, and others. So like any other grants, you do research using the methodology that you adopted. So therefore, SOTL in teaching and learning also have its own methodology, and you carry out research just like any other research that you do in your area, in the area where your expertise are. So what is it actually? Okay, before that, just a glance through that most of you know that UTP, the vision of UTP is to be a leader in teaching, education, and center for creativity and innovation. Therefore, we want to be the leader in technology education, center for creativity and innovation. Therefore, our teaching or education needs to be upfront. Um, no matter what research we do, we also teach to make sure that we teach creatively, we educate, and we produce graduates. We aim to nurture creativity and innovativeness and expand the frontiers of technology and education for the betterment of society. All right, so yeah, I know that most of you have seen that we UTP aim to produce a well-rounded graduate. This is the model. I'm one of the UTP graduate. I graduated somewhere in 2000, 2001. So I've seen this where UTP wanted to make sure that the products of UTP have all this competency, practical aptitude, business acumen. So yeah, so that's that. This is SITAL way back 2013, 2014, when they were UTP was having a discussion planning towards bringing up or making or developing Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning, which is SITAL. I think spearheaded by Prof Fazil Hani. So during that time, I was not involved with the Pro Tem committee. So that's when SITAL was first initiated by Prof Fazil. Now this is SITAL. I think most of you or all of you know that there's a building for Center for Teaching Excellence in Teaching and Learning SITAL. So it's there in UTP. It's materialized. Um, I would like to see some answers from everyone still using the same thing, which is you can see on top of my slides. Go to www.menti.com and use the same code. What is your comment about teaching and learning of the 21st century? Can you write something? Just one line or two lines or a sentence. What do you think of the 21st century teaching and learning? Do you think it's the same? Do you think it's a bit different now? Do you think it's very challenging? Can you write something, please? So, yeah. For those who just joined, appreciate that you can, if you can go to, can you look on top of my slides? There is, go to www.menti.com and use the code 667530 so that you can write your comment. Okay, I can see one comment here. For the 21st century teaching and learning, we need to be more interactive and engage the students. Okay, technology integration together with STEM content. I think a lot of you are doing that. Your content together with STEM content is interesting. Another feedback. Teaching and learning in the 21st century is very digitally involved and different from older times. That's right. I had that feeling too, especially during this time, post-COVID time, where suddenly everything needs to be digitally online. We are forced to use technology, tools. Yeah, I just bought this menti.com yesterday. I paid for the full version of it yesterday. Had to. It is very much different with the advance in technology. Teaching and learning are more interesting. Yeah, my students, the current student, our generation now, most of them love technology. They love something using handphone, using laptops with the gadget. They come with their earphone. Need more media? Students love this. They love something when they see YouTube. They love something when we use Facebook Live, Instagram Story. They love that when we try to include that in class. Yeah, that's the current generation. All right. This is Prof. Fazil Hani, Prof. IR Dr. Ahmad Fazil, Prof. IR Dr. Ahmad Fazil Muhammad Hani. I think most of you know him. He's the one who initiated SOTL with the idea of the lecturers at UTP should play the role of facilitators, and students are empowered to take control of their learning and become self-centered. So he is the one who actually during 2013 and 2014 who encouraged for student-centered learning, SEL, student-centered learning. That's how it started off. Yeah. Cik Reza will share the material so that you can then have a look at how the transition started off or transformation. All right, moving on. You have answered this. SOTL, the idea or the vision is to then make students advance in immersive teaching and learning, so students can enjoy and being immersed in our teaching and have a good learning. So the vision is to enrich meaningful experience to produce future-ready global citizen. So that's the idea or the vision and mission. Okay, SOTL, what SOTL is actually currently doing is that SOTL is trying to help, assist, provide guidance for lecturers to be innovative in designing flexible model of learning, tracking rapid changes with all the current new tools and technology with the current generation, use mobile technology, online learning technology, and then help for lecturers who wants to be more effective in their teaching and learning, provide research opportunities if you would like to continue and do research with your students, your classroom, your pedagogy. Pedagogy means how you teach, and then use technological devices for delivering teaching and for learning, provide promotion pathways in innovative teaching and learning methods. But for this one, provide promotion pathways, I'm not sure how it is now being conducted in UTP as yet. I've not seen that, where I know that there has been a lot of discussion on promotion pathway between teaching and doing research, but I've not seen how it is being materialized yet. So I'm not going to comment on that. All right, so this is SOTL framework where it's two-side. If you can see UTP students with all the skills, which is including emotional intelligence, teamwork skill, deep learning, and on the other side, we are also expected to scaffold or help the students to achieve all this. Therefore, we would like to make sure that ourselves as a lecturer move from just a teacher to then effective educator, scholarly educator, SOTL practitioner, and educational researcher. You might ask me, what are the difference between all those? I'm gonna take a long time to just talk about the level. But however, today I will differentiate between scholarly educator and SOTL practitioner because I believe that most of us in UTP are between level 3 and level 4. We are scholarly educator, and some of us have leaped to become SOTL practitioners. So I can differentiate between these two, level 3 and level 4, which most of us are in. Okay, let's move on. Yeah, this is the UTP TNL pedagogy model. You might ask me, what is pedagogy? I think most of you might ask the question, what is pedagogy? Pedagogy is where there's a model that when we teach, there's a theory behind what we use, whether we are using the active learning theory or the basis of active learning when we teach, or cooperative learning, or problem-based learning, or blended learning, or flipped classroom. All of this, I believe that you have gone through the training of, I think most of you has graduated from active learning training. If you have not, you can ask Cik Reza how to join active learning training. Yesterday, Dr. Tazli has completed training on engaging online active learning. It's very interesting because active learning is something that we do when we are with students in class, face to face with students. However, in this current situation where students are all in front of a PC, in front of a laptop, how can we conduct active learning? So yesterday, Dr. Stazli mentioned and explained how he did online active learning. So I hope, Irwan, you can share the webinar recorded link at our chat room, um, that pointed to the video that Dr. Tazli shared yesterday on engaging online active learning delivery. So I hope, Irwan, you can share that on our chat room, yeah? Online active learning. That's interesting. But I managed to only join for about 40 minutes due to overlapping online meetings that everyone is now having. So yeah, I managed to join only half of the session. So Irwan, I hope you can share the link at the meeting chat, yeah, on online active learning. So that's on active learning. Some of us adopted cooperative learning. Some of us adopted problem-based learning. So it depends on your content, on your constructive alignment, also on the students that you have that semester. As for me, I adopted flipped classroom with my students and most of my subjects that I taught. Why I choose flipped classroom? There's few reasons. You have to attend my flipped classroom training. I think about 70% of our lecturers has attended flipped classroom training. If you have not, you can also contact Mr. Reza. I I shared the reason as well as my aim why I choose flipped classroom in most of my subject that I taught. Yeah. All right. So moving on from that, that's UTP pedagogy model. You can adopt one. Some of you even join the pedagogy. Means that mixed or hybrid. Sometimes it works, but for an I guess if you have to be very experienced to do that, to master in that. Okay. So I would like you to take about 1 minute, 60 seconds to reflect on your teaching. Just reflect on your teaching. You can write it down. What was particularly good and disastrous teaching moment you remember throughout the years that you teach? What made it successful or otherwise? And think about it now. How can you improve that on your teaching? You might want to write it down just for 60 seconds. So please reflect on your teaching moment. I hope that you can share it on menti.com. Again, for those who just joined, please go to www.menti.com. I've written this on top and use the code 667530 and take a few moments to reflect on your teaching. Okay, the question is, you can write on what was particularly good or disastrous throughout the years. Maybe you can just share one, a particularly something, a memory that you will never forget when you teach your students. What made it successful or a failure? And how could you improve it? Or how have you improved that if you have improved it? So please share it here or your reflection on your teaching, the most disastrous or the most successful moment, and then how have you improved that? The character is just 250. So yeah. Yep, I got one reflection now. Let me read it for you. Good. When students pass and were able to apply the knowledge at work, as students' interests tend to vary with time, the NL approach needs to adapt as well. Then this then becomes a lifelong learning process. Oh, I think whenever I visited my internship students, I had the same sort of feedback from the previous one who have graduated when they come across and they say that, oh, I remember you teaching me this and that. I do apply some of the knowledge now in doing this and that, whatever they mention. So that makes me feel glad that it works and they could actually use that and apply that in their current job. So that is really interesting, to meet internship students in the company, then also meet those who graduated and already become successful ones in the company, and they still remember you and what you taught them. That's really, I would say, satisfying as a lecturer. Okay, the second reflection. The most successful moment when my student enjoy my class and later semester they said they use the skill they learned during internship. The most disaster is when I change to video mode but student less likely to watch my video. Um, this is something interesting too. Along the way, because I choose, if you remember the pedagogy model, I choose flipped classroom. So to share with you, it's not always a sweet journey. So again, in my training, I shared with the audience of the ups and down of using the pedagogy to change to 21st century teaching and learning. There'll be successful moments, there'll be failures, there'll be negative responses, and that's when I improve from time to time in a cyclic semester. I do changes and improve, and that is SOTL. SOTL is just about when you have some failures in introducing some new pedagogy intervention in your class, then something happened, you try to improve with your students, current students or next students. That is one example of SOTL, Scholarship of Teaching and Learning. That's what we are in now. Bad. The third, the third response, active learning wanted to use an online tool but was not familiar with it, so ditch the idea and use a familiar tool. I agree with you. Before I use, this is the only this to tell you the truth, ladies and gentlemen, this is the first time I successfully use mentimeter.com in this training. I have to, because I don't see you guys in my training or in the training room that we always do in SITAL. So I can always ask a question, somebody put up their hands, I can always ask you a question for feedback. I can always give you a paper and you answer that. I have no choice. So, as I mentioned just now, I bought this license, menti.com, yesterday. I tried it on my own, and this is the first time I successfully use menti.com. I hope I will be able to use it from time to time. So, to say that I'm also having a lot of issue with using tools. So I really like the comment, the third reflection here. I always use one tool first, which I'm very familiar with, and I keep on using it until there's a need to then change to another one or use another one together with the current one. So yeah, that's true. It happens to me as well. Third reflection, worst moment was during the early years of my teaching career where we had to rely on OHP, and as a new lecturer I had to write almost everything on the transparency, and during the teaching I always had problem to elaborate on the points. I still remember OHP days when there's no PowerPoint slides. I was one of the students sitting at the back, so I can see UTP lecturer using and struggling with OHP. I learn quotes. So my lecturer will write every single quotes on the OHP. Then I can see the transition. They struggle with PowerPoint. Then now everyone use PowerPoint just like that. Now we are struggling to move to an online tools. Later, it's going to be an easy one. Fourth reflection, feeling good when students really interesting to follow the lecturer and actively ask question, feeling bad if no question from students. I guess most of us are having this struggle. Students do not ask question when we ask any question, there will be no question. And even when we ask them to answer, we are the one who answer that too. So take a moment to reflect this and come up with an approach for students to answer your question or ask questions. Probably having this kind of tool that we are looking at now, menti.com, is a way, because there are many introvert students as well in our class, I believe. Sixth, reflection. Bad. Adopting a new online teaching strategy just because it is popular or everybody is using or doing it without thinking it through as to whether I am committed to that strategy. Um, that's true that a lot of us, including myself, just jump into the wagon because everybody is using it. So it's like a trend. I found out that whatever we do to make sure that the delivery or it will be successful, it has to be in line back again to constructive alignment. Why would we use something? Let's say we put up a question for our students to answer as an assignment. It should be aligned with our course learning outcome as well. So then student will understand that, oh, it is actually because this is the learning outcome that I have to achieve, then I have to answer this using this online tool. So yeah, that's what I experience as well. We have to make sure that it's aligned with our learning outcome, no matter what tool to use, no matter what question to ask. Yeah. Thank you for your reflections. I hope that you could you would be able to reflect this after each class. That's part of being a scholarly educator. You keep on reflecting on what you have done before. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. So this is another question that you need to ask yourself. When you want to leap from a scholarly educator to SOTL educator, you have to open to review, to be reviewed by another colleague, another peer. I'm open to have my teaching observed. I'm open to share the good moments of my teaching in a public platform. I'm open to share the disastrous moment of teaching in public platform as well. So what do you think of sharing your teaching practices, whether it's bad or good, whether it's disastrous or it's a beautiful moment, with others? Are you willing to do that? Can you answer this? Appreciate if you can go to menti.com and yep, one person answer yes, 2% answer yes. Um, a lot of people are not willing to observe, to be observed. In many occasions that I have to go and observe people in classroom, they are not willing to be observed. They will question, why am I being observed? Um, is it because I'm not the way I teach is bad? For your information, to leap yourself from a scholarly educator to sorted educator, we have to be willing to share our teaching practices with others. At any point of time, so that we can learn, other people can learn, we can improve, so that's others. So thank you for the feedback. How about others? I know that not all and majority of us are not willing to share our class with others. And yeah, no, yeah, yeah. If you, that's true. There's no right and wrong answer. There are moments that probably you are not willing to share. Probably there are moments that you're willing to share. Depends on certain occasion, your students. Yep. So you can see that from here, from the chart in front of you, it's like 50-50. 3% say no and 3% say yes. And from my experience, majority of the lecturers are not willing to. Okay, so now it's yeah, 4 will say yes, 3 will say no. Yep, majority then say yes. Thank you for the feedback, everyone. Okay, so in MQA, this is from MQA document taken. In the document itself, it's mentioning that the preferred term scholar teacher is used in this document to affirm a paradigm of accountability for thought and knowledge leadership among member of the teaching profession. So in MQA document, they don't specify the 5 level that I've shared just now, from a teacher right up to educational researcher. However, they mention about being a scholar as well as being a teacher. I'll share with you how just from being a teacher to a scholarly educator. I'll share with you at the end. So it's written in MQA document. This is a YouTube on SOTL. Um, I would like you to watch this probably later, probably when you have time. So you can just take that link, you can snap that link, watch Professor Gary Poole talking about scholarship of teaching and learning. Yeah, this is another scholar, which is Professor Boyer. Professor Boyer has come up with a framework on how you can conduct a scholarship in education area. I'll share with you at the end the model that has been presented as part of this book written by Professor Boyer. Okay. In a nutshell or in a summary, I really like this picture. It's not my picture. I've taken it from somewhere. I think from Purdue University, if I'm not mistaken. What is SOTL? SOTL is about moving from a scholarly teaching. You can see the green circle. I've shown you the green circle. Moving from scholarly teaching to scholarship of teaching and learning. A SOTL educator. When you are a scholarly teacher or scholarly educator, whatever technique you use, pedagogy you use in class is actually taken from somewhere which is already being published. You learn, you read about how you can use active learning. You learn how actually can you use cooperative learning. You learn how can actually you do flipped classroom. So you don't just adopt, but you understand it from literature, from how it has been used in the past. And then you use it in your class, you modify it from time to time. If it's not working with your student, you keep on reflecting and assess how well you deliver that in your class, how it is a challenge with your students, and you keep on improving that in a cycle. That is scholarly educator. You learn, you try, you assess, you reflect, and you improve from time to time. That is a scholarly educator. When you feel that you want to move into a SOTL educator, you start to then present it to other people. You can present it in writing, which is publication. or you can present it or share it in a verbal form in COP, community of practices, virtually, you give training to people, and you also receive feedback from peer or colleague where they come to your class, you get their feedback and you start to improve. When you start to share the output of your teaching intervention or pedagogy that you adopted, that's when you are a scholarship, you are a SOTL educator. That's the difference that I want to show between a scholarly educator and a SOTL educator. Yep. So I really like this picture, and then you start to publish and you contribute. Okay. Moving on. What is SOTL? If you are planning to submit a SOTL grant, which is given, you should then do this. These three things are needed, where you need to have scholarly inquiry. You have student, you're doing it with your student in your class, and you advance your teaching pedagogy. So in your SOTL application, you need to have these three things mentioned just now. What is scholarly inquiry? It's that you understand what pedagogy or method or technique or approach that you want to adopt. Let's say you want to adopt flipped classroom, or you want to adopt cooperative learning, and you have to go back to the literature to understand it well, how you can adopt or adapt that in your classroom with your students and in your content, your subject that you are teaching. And your audience or your participant or your sample of study is your students. It's not going to be chemical reaction. It's not going to be organization. It's not going to be coach. It's not going to be robots. It's not going to be something that you put in your experiment. But the experimental study is about your student in your class. And you advance your teaching by sharing the results with other people through your publication, through COP sharing, in conferences and others. That is SOTL. Yeah. So how the SOTL works? So this is also revising back on the picture just now that I like. Okay, so it's taken from Cambridge Uni, not Purdue. SOTL is about posing about teaching and learning issue that's happened in your class. Yeah, remember, with your student, study the problem through methods appropriate to your discipline. If it's me, it's my computer and information science department, my IT, IS and computer science subjects. Apply it to them, communicate the results with a bigger audience, and do your self-reflection and being reviewed by your other colleagues or peer review. So this is all about SOTL. Okay, I hope you get the meaning of scholarship of teaching and learning. How does SOTL work? Again, go back to the picture. It's always about discovering new way of improving your teaching and learning, reflecting back as a lecturer. You keep the evidences in your class. It could be interview with your students, the students' results, the students' reflection themselves, your reflection, your GA reflection, their performance, whether summative assessment or formative assessment, in to show whether it's effective or not using that pedagogy that you adopted. And then it the findings are reviewed by others, disseminated, and it's an ongoing cycle from week by week in the semester or semester to another semester. Yeah. So that will benefit your students, yourself, your class, your colleague as well. Other people who would like to adapt your teaching pedagogy. That's SOTL, yeah. In UTP, we are having number 1 and number 4 that I bold. Classroom SOTL and institutional level SOTL. Classroom SOTL are the one that you conduct in your class for your course with your students. while institutional SOTL is something that we do for the university. For example, when we would like to move to MOOC, massive online learning, MOOC, massive open online learning course, something, MOOC teaching and learning. I think most of you are familiar with MOOC learning. When we want to the transition happen for some of the courses to do MOOC at a higher level with a few other universities as well. That is when a few researchers were given institutional research SOTL grant at UTP to do that MOOC framework on how to do that with together with other universities as well. So there are many other application of SOTL at different level, program, department, discipline, and a broader higher education context. However, in UTP, we are giving classroom SOTL 20K per application, institutional level SOTL right up to 50K. However, it will be depending on what you budgeted for. It will be reviewed just like any other grant. We'll check what do you apply for, whether it's needed or not. It will be slashed if it's not needed and all that. The issues could be on curriculum, program, course design, educational issue, institutional issue, teaching and learning issue in your class. So again, we are catering for number 4, teaching and learning issue in your class and institutional issue that are related to educational issue in our university. All right. So moving on that, I mentioned about the book just now. Remember, Boyer by Professor Boyer. This is the Boyer model of scholarship. What Boyer or Professor Boyer is saying is that in any of the SOTL research, there could be integration, application, teaching, and discovery. You might have one of these element, or 2 or 3 or all of this element as part of your SOTL research. You will discover something new and share that, or you integrate a few pedagogy and share that, or you just take one pedagogy and apply it. For example, you pick flipped classroom and apply it to your class and share that as your SOTL research, or you modify your teaching with one of the pedagogy that you created, or you discover, or you apply. So what Boyer is saying is that SOTL research output or outcome could be one of this, or 2, or mix, or all. Yeah, so that's from Boyer. So this is more explanation on Boyer. You can read that later when Cik Riza share this or Irwan share the link, and then you plan. If you're planning to apply for SOTL, which one? Are you going to discover something new, or integrate some of the pedagogy, or apply all of them? Just applying and share? Yeah. So which one? You might want to plan for your SOTL. Moving on from there, good teaching versus scholarly teaching versus SOTL. This is coming back to the, if you remember the 5 level that I've shared just now. A lot of us have leap from just good teaching. Means that we have leaped to, again, level 3 or level 4. Level 3 is scholarly teaching. Level 4 is SOTL educator. So most of us in UTP is at level 3 or level 4. Level 2 is good teaching, where we look at students' outcome, look at the CLO, and look at their results. And we have moved beyond that, where we have then looked at what are the best pedagogy that can meet our cause for our students. Most of us have moved to that, and we have adopted one of the student-centered learning pedagogy. Some of you adopt active learning, some of you adopt cooperative learning, some of you adopt blended learning, flipped classroom, PBL, problem-based learning, and so on. So we have moved to scholarly teaching, where we understand that pedagogy, we try to implement that and then improve from semester to semester. And while SOTL is beyond that, where we then look at the evidences, collect the evidences with our students, look at and measure the effectiveness and start to share, publish, share, go to conferences on that. I know that some of the good ones in UTP have moved to SOTL and they share it and they publish in good educational journals, which is very difficult because most of us, it's not our bread and butter. You are very good in your area of robotics. You are very good in your area of probably um, chemical reaction, something. But to try to publish in education journal, to me it's very very difficult because they have their own way of writing, their own methodology, and yeah. Okay, scholarly teaching versus SOTL, that's what I mentioned just now, so you can read this later. So for SOTL process, when you submit the proposal, make sure that start with an investigation of what's the issue and problem, just like any other grant being written as well, proposal, how it can be improved, that issue in your class, that issue in your with your students. And it should be supported by literature. Most of the literature in SOTL grant application will be literature to the pedagogy that you want to adopt or adapt. That's going to be your literature and how it has been done in the past. And what improvement or strategy that you would like to try, that's the learning intervention that you would like to do it with your student next semester or the next 1 year, and how you would like to contribute to the body of knowledge. Probably a new framework, a new model, a new mixed pedagogy, could be that. And then these are the steps that you want to write, to follow when you write your proposal. What I want to address, what has been done, that's literature review. This is just like any, could be any other research that you have done in your area that you are expert in. Can it be replicated, the strategy or the method, what you would like to design, in what way can I implement the strategy later, and how can I share the findings? Okay, a good SOTL researcher always reflect on whatever intervention that you put in your class with your student. The pedagogy, this is when I read most of the SOTL application, this is the area which is lacking, whereby they are not sure of the pedagogy that needs to be adopted and adapted, means that very minimal reading to what has been published in the literature. So this is one of the area which is usually lacking. And then sharing success story, be patient to criticism. Okay. So in your proposal, this is something that is really needed, a sound pedagogy of the previous research. Another area, another area which is also lacking in the area of preparing a SOTL research grant, when I read the research SOTL being submitted, is the measurement of effectiveness, meaning that when you apply one intervention in your class with your student, with your course, how would you measure their performance that your intervention is improving? That is usually lacking in the proposal of the SOTL grant. How to see that they perform better, how to see that the intervention is improving them. So that's also lacking. This is another part which is lacking. So I think I'll just skip this because time is running out. So yep, this is what you can read for you to prepare your SOTL grant for those who are interested. This is another area where it might not be a familiar method for most of us, especially the engineers. Yeah. Action research, case study, experimental design, survey research, interview, observation, and document analysis. So in most of the proposal, there are methods, but it is not a SOTL method for scholarship of teaching and learning, or for you to conduct with your student, or for you to conduct in educational research. These are some of the research method that you should write in your proposal to conduct the research with your student to collect evidences and then analyze. It could be one of this: action research, case study, experimental design, survey, interview, observation, document analysis. So these are usually lacking, again, because these methods are not our bread and butter. We are doing our experimental design and all that, but in a lab form, in the area that we're using, but not this method. So yeah, this is another lacking part when I read most of the proposal. So these are some of the title. You can read it later for you to have an idea. For example, the last one on bottom right, developing practical aptitude among teacher learners, the case of a Malaysian private institution of higher learning. So it's with the intervention, the author wanted to look at the practical aptitude among technical learners, yeah. So I think with that, I hope that for those of you who would like to submit for SOTL grant, remember that the implication or the significance of study is there should be an improvement in teaching and learning, help with classroom or program assessment. It could be program review and accreditation. It could be revitalize faculty members, strengthen faculty development effort, partnership among faculty, staff and students, and others here. So this could be your contribution, implication, or significance of study. So yeah. I think that's all. More information about the process of applying for SOTL is available here in this website. There's a process flow of how you can apply. Yeah, so please visit the this page. The form is there, can be downloaded. Yeah. Anything, you can actually go and look at this website, get the form, get the FAQ is also there, and how it's being reviewed and what is expected, which is grant completion and all that. So before I end, is there any question that you would like to ask? It's already, yeah, I'm done with my presentation. Any question? Anyone? You can type the question here, or you can also ask me straight away. Any question? Ladies and gentlemen, Prof. Anna, any question from you?
Excuse me, Madam. Ghulam Mustafa Abro is here. Can you
Hi,
hear?
Dr. Gulam. Yes.
I'm a student, ma'am, not a doctor yet.
Okay.
I was just wondering whether this is the presentation related to the OBE training or something else. I just joined, no?
OBE training, I think it is at 10 o'clock. Am I right, Cik Reza? OBE training is at 10 o'clock?
It is at 9.
9. Okay, right
Yeah.
after this, yeah, Gulam? Right after
Okay.
this.
Okay, thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Iswaran. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Dr. Hasbullah. Thank you, everyone. I hope that you will start to do you start become a SOTL educator for your own improvement as well as for your students. Yeah. Okay, with that, I hope that the sharing of knowledge is something significant to you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And I'll pass the session to Dr. Zaiti Farha on OBE. To you, Dr. Zaiti. Thank you, Cik Reza. Thank you, everyone. Assalamualaikum.